Our class today, inshallah, will be about section 2.4. This section is about the precise definition of a limit. In fact, it is the definition that's used in the mathematical analysis. When you analyze the limit for any function in general, we use what is called the precise definition of a limit. What we had before, it is informal. It was just an intuitive definition for the limit. Today we will have the precise definition, the more general definition that's used in mathematical analysis. Also, we will study the formal definition for the left-hand limit and the right-hand limit. To understand that, ya shabab, we will start with an easy example to show you what we have here. طبعا, look at this function. It is a piecewise defined function. Can you tell me, Shabab, what is the limit of this function when x approaching 3? So what is the limit of the function when x approaching 3? Is it 6?
5.
Is it 6 or 5?
5.
6.
It is not 6, ya Shabab.
It's 5.
It is 5. When x approaches 3, it means that x is not exactly 3. X is very close from 3, but not equals to 3 exactly. So in fact, it will approaching 3. So this is the meaning of when we say limit of f of x when x approaching 3 equals to 5. In fact, we mean approaching 5. We mean approaching 5. But as a notation, for simplicity, we write it equals to 5. And you have to be careful when you take the limit. This is f of. F at 6, at 3, f at 3 is 5, is 6, sorry. F at 3, it is 6. But the limit of the function when x approaching 3, it is 5, it is here. Now, let's see how it will be more clear, Shabab, for you from the graph. Look how it will be more clear from the graph. Look at the graph. 2x minus 1 is a line. So this is the graph of this line. This is the graph of y equals to 2x minus 1. Now, when x equals exactly 3, here it is 6. But when x approaching 3, when x approaches 3 from the right or from the left, look what is the graph, the y values approaching what? They are approaching 5, not approaching 6. Now I think you understand the meaning of the limit. What is the difference between it and between the value of the function at the point? Now, ya shabab, it is up to us. It is as we want. If you want now your function to be very close from 5, you can make this interval here. You can make it within this interval, a smaller interval. You want it to be far, a little bit far away. You can make it also a little bit far. Now it is up to us. So what we will call this interval, we will call it the epsilon interval, and this is the delta interval. What is that? In fact, your function will stay here, will stay like 5 plus a small number, like 5.1. So this is 5.1. This is negative, this is 4.9. So here, this epsilon that we written here, it is a Greek letter. The Greek letter that means you have a small positive number. And also, according to that, your delta here will be 3 plus something small or 3 minus something small. So delta here, it is another Greek letter that depends on epsilon. It could be epsilon, it could be half of epsilon, less than epsilon by number. So it depends. So delta, it could be 2 epsilon over 2, and so on. So now here, whatever the values that you are close to delta. So 3 plus delta, it means 3 plus small number, 3 minus small number. This is what we mean by you make it closer to x as much as you want. So now, when you have, ya shabab, f of x is here, f of x is here. So it means that it is between 5 plus epsilon and between 5 minus epsilon. How to write this in the language of distances? So what is the distance between the function and the 5 here? So let's do it as an inequality. F of x, add or subtract 5 from both sides, from the 3 sides. you will have f of x minus 5 less than epsilon greater than negative epsilon. Am I right? Just look here. What we did, we just subtract 5 from the three sides of this inequality. Now, in the language of the absolute values, do you remember, ya shabab, if you have x less than k greater than negative k, how to write this with absolute value? It means that the absolute value of x less than what? K. So this is exactly what we will do. So this means that the absolute value of x minus 5, which means the distance between f and 5, it is less than epsilon. It is a small number. This is the meaning of epsilon here. Epsilon, ya shabab, is always used to express very small positive number. So the distance between f of x and its limit is very small. And similarly here, this can be written as what? X minus 3 less than delta greater than negative delta, the absolute value of x minus 3 less than delta. So you can write it as following. I explain for you how to write it. So just to understand what do you have from here to here, what are the steps? Now here you have the absolute value of x minus 5 less than epsilon if the distance between x and the 3 is less than delta. So if the distance here is very small, of course, here it's also very small, and they are depending. Delta here depend on epsilon. How to find delta? We said that delta depend on epsilon. In fact, delta here, it is epsilon over half. It is epsilon over 2. It is a half of epsilon. Why and how? This is our main task now. In this section, we will learn how to find delta. All what we are going to do is how to find delta. Now, to find delta, it is not difficult. طبعا delta here could be any also smaller number. It could be epsilon over 2 or any number less than epsilon over 2 greater than 0. So this is why this one we will call it the largest, the biggest value, the largest delta. How to do that? How to know that it is epsilon over 2? This is the main task. The idea is to start by guessing the value. You will start from here. What is your function? When x is not equals to 3, here it is. You will put instead of f of x 2x minus 1. 2x minus 1 minus 5 less than epsilon. Now simplify 2x minus 1 minus 5, it will be 2x minus 6. Take, now keep in mind your target is this now. We want to have something like this. So what we will do, what do you suggest, ya shabab? We will take 2 as a common factor.
Yes.
Then divide by what? Why we have this? In fact, we have 2 as a common factor. And you know that the absolute value of A times B, it is the absolute value of A times the absolute value of B. So this will be the absolute value of 2 times the absolute value of x minus 3. The absolute value of 2 is 2. So this is why we have it like this. Now, the absolute value, we will divide just by 2. Divide both sides by 2. You have the absolute value of x minus 3. The distance between x and 3 is less than epsilon over 2. Compare this with this. What is delta? Delta is epsilon over 2. I said any delta less than epsilon over 2, it works also. Because it is about the distance, it is much to be closer, as much as we can. Now, this is the formal definition, the precise definition of the limit. If you have a function that is defined near A, then we say that the limit of the function as x approaches A is L, and we write it this way. If for every epsilon greater than 0, for any epsilon greater than 0, there is a number delta, also positive, small positive number, such that if the distance between x and A is less than delta, then also the distance between F and L is less than F. This is the precise definition. So our task, ya shabab, is to find there is a delta. Our task is to find what is this delta. Okay. Now this is the graph. I explained it already for you. This is when you have it from the right and from the left. This is from the left. طبعا from the left, when you have A, this is A plus delta, this is A minus delta. Our X is here. X could be here, anywhere. But here in our case, in the case of the left side limit, we will focus here. Our X will be here. Here it is. X will be between A and A minus delta. If we have a right hand limit, our X will be here. Here it is. It will be between A and A plus delta. So there is no absolute value. It was in general. In general, it is like this, Shabab. But when it is right limit, it is this way. When it is left limit, it is this way. You will focus on one branch only. We will have an example about that. I will show you. Now, let's start with the first example. I started with example 2, ya Shabab. By the way, in this section, you are supposed just to understand and to study the ideas of example number 1, example number 2, example number 3. Only 3 examples. Don't look at the other examples, ya Shabab. So just focus on what is on the slide. In example 2, this kind of problems, you will call it proving. You need to prove that this equals to 7. But if you did this, you said it is 4 times 3 minus 5 equals to 12. 12 minus 5 is 7. This is not proving. This is calculating. You are finding the limit. So I know that it is 7, but I want you to prove for me that it is 7 by using epsilon and delta. So you have to use the precise definition of delta and epsilon. Now, you need to do first what is called identify. So this type of problem, it is kind of proving. So when you have a problem like this, you should follow the same process. What is the process that you need to follow? You need to remember the definition. In the definition, you need to find out what is L, what is F, what is A. And of course, you need to find delta in terms of epsilon. Now, step number 1, you should identify your parameters. What is the function? Here it is. Compare it with the definition. Your function is 4x minus 5. Your L, this is L, it is 7. What is A? A is here. Compare it with this, Shabab. X goes to 3, so A is 3. So you have F, L, and A. Now you can go and guess a value for, so this is the graph. If you want to guess the graph from the graph, no need to do for you to do the graph, just I do it here for you to understand. Now, to guess a value for delta, what you need to do? You need, for any epsilon, you need to find a number delta. Such that this, if the absolute value of x minus 3, what this 3 is A, less than delta, then the f of x minus L is less than epsilon. So if you have this, you need to prove that this exists or this is valid. Now, what you need to do, we will do in this step is guessing a value for delta. So you will start with this. You will try to simplify now. What do you have here? You have 4x minus 5 minus 7, it will be minus 12. Now keep in mind that this is your target, Shabab. This is our target. So what can I do here? I will take 4 as a common factor and I will bring it out of the absolute value. Exactly. Now divide both sides by 4. Then the absolute value of x minus 3 is less than epsilon over 4. Compare this with this. This suggests that what? It suggests that delta is what?
Epsilon
Guys, are you
over 4.
It is epsilon. This suggests that we should choose delta equals epsilon over 4. But this is not the proof, by the way, because we started in this way, by the way. We started with the conclusion, and then we had the condition. When we prove, we should start with the conclusion and find that we should start with the condition and goes to the conclusion. So this is why we call this guessing a value for delta. Now to do it, yes.
Troy, why we take x minus 3, not x positive 3 from the right hand side?
Sorry, from where we will take it? Why we will take it plus? It is coming from here. For x minus 5 minus 7, it is minus 12. We take 4 as a common factor.
I mean the condition.
It is
F0 smaller.
x minus a. انت عندك absolute value of x minus a. وش ال a؟ ال a 3.
3.
شلنا ال a خلينا مكانها 3. لو كانت ال a negative 3 كانت راح تكون x plus. You got it?
إيه.
Okay. Now to prove again يا شباب, to prove you should start from here. You should start with this and conclude this. Sorry, this. So what we will do the third step. طبعا in most of the cases we skip this step because it will be clear. Just now you will verify that these values works. So now this is your delta. So what you will do, you will start here. If this, then this. Now we will see if this is happening. Now this is what we have. طبعا delta is this. Now we will conclude this. We need now at the end, we want at the end this to be the absolute value of x minus L. We want it to be less than what? Less than epsilon. If we can have this, we are done. Now what we will do, this is for x minus 5 minus 7, for x minus 12, we will do the same steps. Now this is what? Less than delta. What is delta? Delta is epsilon over 4. Cancel 4 with 4, it is epsilon. So we have this less than epsilon. If this, then this. Now we proved. So this is the proof indeed. So now by the definition, this limit exists. Now again, ya shabab, delta here could be any number less than epsilon over 4 greater than 0. This is the maximum. I didn't mention it here. I should mention that it is the maximum number. It should be mentioned somewhere. No, I should confirm it and emphasize on that. This is the maximum number, the largest value for delta. You can have any smaller value can work also. Let's take another example, which is example number 3 in your textbook. Use definition 4, which is of course the epsilon delta definition for the limits from the right. Now we have the limit of square root of x when x goes to 0 from the right is 0. How to prove that? By using the precise definition of the limit. Again, you need to identify what is your function, what is your L, what is your A, and so on. So this is also kind of problem it is proving. So this is the definition when you have a right limit. You need to focus on this only, and you should have this. If this, then this. So step number 1, you will identify. You will find what is your function. Your function is square root of x. L, this is L. A, this is A. Both of them are zeros. Now come here and substitute. Now what you will do, you will guess a value for delta. So if x is greater than 0, this is 0. This is 0. So 0, here it is. 0 plus delta is delta. So if x between 0 and delta, then we should have what? We should have f of x, this is f of x, minus L, L is 0, less than epsilon. Now our target is to find delta. What is delta? The square root of x minus 0, it is the square root of x. Is that correct, ya shabab? The absolute value of square root of x is equal square root of x. Is this true? Is that true?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Because all of the numbers out of square root is positive.
Because this is positive, ya shabab. Because this is greater than 0 always. The square root, it means always positive. So this is always positive. No need to have absolute value. You know that the absolute value of u, it is u if u is positive. So the absolute value of square root, it is then epsilon. So in fact, this means what? I need now this. I need delta, shabab. I need to go from here to here. How to do that? I will square both sides. Both of them are positive. I can square both sides, no problem. So if we square both sides, look what we have. X is greater than 0 because it is inside the square root, and x is less than epsilon greater than 0. Now this suggests that what? What is delta? Compare this with this. Delta is epsilon square. And of course, it could be any number less than epsilon square. Now, the third step that usually it is just a matter of verifying that you will, if this, you should have at the end the absolute value of x minus L less than epsilon. This is what we want at the end. Now, what we will do, we will start with this. Now we have delta. I know what is delta. Delta is epsilon square. So I will go now to this f of x minus L. This is f of x minus L. Now what I will do, I will square both sides, take the square root of both sides. Because all of them are positive, I can square root. I will do the opposite. Now, the square root of delta is the square root of epsilon square, which is epsilon, because epsilon is positive. Now, what we have? We have 0 less than square root of x less than epsilon. Now, in fact, this is equivalent to this, because the absolute value of x minus 0, it is the same. Take the absolute value, it is the same, less than epsilon. That's it. So we have that the absolute value of f of x minus L less than epsilon. And this proves that the limit of this function is 0. This is, ya shabab, the part of proving. When you have epsilon in general, for any epsilon, you need to find delta in terms of epsilon. There is another type of problems, which is the idea of example number 1. When you have specific epsilon, when epsilon is given, so this type of problems, I call it given epsilon, find delta. When you have epsilon, you need to find delta. So let's start. طبعا the graph here is given also for you. So the function is a polynomial of degree 3. The limit of the function when x approaches 1, it is 2. Clearly, you can verify that. So you have the function, you have L, you have A. What you have more? You have more that you need to find the number delta such that if x is within delta of 1, this is the 1. Y is within 0.2 of 2. 0.2 is epsilon. So this is epsilon. I want my function to be within 0.2 of 2. يعني it should be far away from 2, 0.2 more or 0.2 less. Then, in other words, find the number delta such that for any epsilon greater than, or for epsilon equals to 0.2, we need to find a delta. Now, to start, you should identify your parameters. This is the function, this is L, this is A, and what we have more here, we have a given epsilon. Epsilon is given for us, it is 0.2. So what we need to do, ya shabab, is to go, طبعا, if the graph is given, you can use it if it is clear for you. Here, we should have the graph. It is not easy to use the function. It is parameter, it is polynomial of degree 3. It is not easy to be solved. So you have to use the graph here. And the graph will be clear for you if it is given. So now we have the graph. This is 3, this is 2, this is 1. We need to focus when x approaches 1. So when we are so close from 1. So we will make a zoom on this graph. So what we want at the end, by the way, we want f of x minus L less than epsilon, greater than 0, of course. Now we have epsilon, it is 0.2. Now we want to find delta. This is our target. Now this is the function. This is L, this is epsilon. What you will do, you will write it in terms of the definition of the absolute value. This is absolute value inequality. So it will be without absolute value, this function minus 2 less than 0.2 greater than negative 0.2. Keep this as it is. Move this to the other side, or add 2 for both sides. You will have this. What is this? This is our function. Our function is between 2.2 and 1.8. So this means that y y is between these two values, between 1.8 and 2.2. Here it is. Let's make an enlargement for the graph. So this is 2, this is 1. Now this is the maximum 2.2, and this is 1.8. So this is in fact L plus epsilon. This is L minus epsilon. This is L. L is 2 in our case. So it is 0.2. This is 0.2. This is epsilon from here to here. This is what is the meaning of that. Now what we want now to find the pre-images of this on the x-axis. This is the x-axis, yes, about. On the x-axis we have 1, which is of course this point. The limit when x approaching 1 from both sides, the y value will approach 2. Now when x approaching 1 from the left or from the right. Now we have this. What is this point? It is almost, I think we have it with more, yes. This point on the x-axis, it is almost, it will be given for you clearly if it is given the graph for you. 0.92, the purpose of this example just to illustrate the idea, it is 0.92. Here it is 1.12, the value corresponding to 1.8, to this one. I think we have it clearly in the next slide, yes. So for when y is 2.2, x will be this, and this is x also. So we will call them, you can call this x1 and this is x2 to distinguish between them, and this is a. It will be between them. Now, what do you think delta will be? Delta will be the distance from A to this point, or from this to this point. So let's call this, you can call this delta 1, and this is delta 2, and you will choose the smaller one. Now, what is the distance, ya shabab, from here to here? From 1 to 1.12. It is 0.12. What is the distance from here to here? From 1 to 0.92. It is 0.08. So we will choose delta to be the smaller one, 0.08. Because why? Why we'll choose it the smaller one? Because if delta is less than 0.08, it works also. If it is less than 0.8, it will be less than 0.12. But if I choose it to be less than 0.12, it will not be, of course, less than 0.08, because it could be 0.1, for example, which is in between. So to guarantee that the interval that x is within, you should choose the smaller value of delta. It is mentioned here, shabab, with details. So this is the delta. We will choose it to be the smaller of these numbers, because if it is, if you have, for example, delta less than 2 or less than 3, you will choose it less than 2, because by default it will be less than 3. If it is less than 2, for sure it is less than 3, to guarantee this, that satisfy both of them. This is delta, and this is why we call it sometimes the largest delta. The largest delta is 0.08. But it could be any number smaller. Now, if you have this, for sure you will have this. And you can verify, of course, that, but no need. It is, when you have a graph, no need to verify that. Any smaller positive value of delta would also have worked. It works also. Any number less than that number, it works, but it should be positive. This is an example that will explain the idea for you. We have here, he said use the graph, but you can use it without graph. You can solve it without graph. But if this is a written quiz, you have to follow the instructions. Now use the graph of this function, which is easy. You can sketch the graph of this function. It is just the square root of x shifted 2 units to the right. To find delta, again, ya shabab, our task is to find delta. Such that if x minus 6, the distance between x and 6 is less than delta, then the distance between f and 2 will be 1. So what do we have here? We have epsilon. This is epsilon, this is L. And this is what? A. So we need here, this type of problems, it is given, epsilon, find delta. Epsilon is given, you need to find delta. So let's follow what he said, use the graph. Let's use the graph. This is the graph of this function, shabab. You should do it by yourself. He will not sketch the graph for you. If he did, this will be great. Now, what we want, what is L, what is A? L is 2. Here it is. This is L. First of all, you need to identify what is your function. I did that already. The function is square root of x minus 2. A is 6, L is 2, epsilon is 1. What is different here that we have epsilon? Epsilon is given. Now I will go to the y-axis and determine what is L. Here it is. L is 2. And I will determine the corresponding value, the corresponding x value. What it will be? What do you think? It will be. It should be 6. It should be the x. When x approaching 6, the graph should approaches 2. Should approach 2. Now you can find it from the graph. By the way, if you have exact graph, you can have it. When y is 2, x will be 6. Now, what is epsilon? Epsilon is 1. So it means that you will add epsilon and you will subtract epsilon. So when you add epsilon here, it will be 3. So this will be L plus epsilon, and this will be L minus epsilon. So epsilon is 1, so you will add 2, it will be 3, this will be 3. This is the interval that where your function will be. Your function will be between 1 and 3. And of course, now you can find the corresponding x value. You can just sketch a line here and find what is corresponding to it. I think we have it with more. Yes. Look, you can, from the graph, find out what is the interval that x will stay with. Now, again, apply it for the upper limit and the lower limits. So when x is 1, when y is 1, the y will be 3. Now, this is the interval that x will be, this is a, this will be a plus delta, a plus delta, a minus delta. So your x is here now. Your x is between 3 and 11. If x between 3 and 11, then y here, y will be between 1 and 3. This is the meaning of that. If x between 3 and 11, y will be between 1 and 3. Now, we need delta that give me the best estimation for this intervals. So how to find delta now, the question. طبعا, by the way, Shabab, if you cannot find this easily from the graph, you can do it. You can do them algebraically without graph. He said using the graph, you can find this value algebraically. How? What is this, Shabab? The value, the y is 3. Y is 3. This means that the function is 3. What is the function? The function is square root of x minus 2 equals to 3. Square both sides. Solve it for x. X is 11. I have written that for you here, by the way. How to find it algebraically if you cannot find it from the graph. Also, similarly here, both the square root of x minus 2 equals to 1. Square both sides. Find x. It is not difficult. Usually we call this one x1 and this is x2, or this is x1 and this is x2. It is up to you to distinguish between them. So let's call this one x1 and this is x2. Now your a must be between them, between x1 and x2. Now, what is the distance from here to here, Shabab? From A to this point. 11 minus 6, 5. From here to here? 3. Which one we will choose it to be delta?
The shortest.
The smaller one. Because if delta is 3, of course it will be. Because at the end we want delta to be greater than 0, less than or equals 3. If it is less than 3, it will be for sure less than 5. But if you choose 5, you cannot guarantee that it will be 3 because it might be 4, which is not less than 3. So we will choose the smaller delta. We will call this one delta 1 and this one we will call it delta 2. And we will choose the minimum between them. The largest delta that we are looking for, it will be the minimum of delta 1 and delta 2. It will be the minimum of 5 and 3. It will be 3. Now, any number less than 3 will work also. Usually when we choose delta, Shabab, we focus on these issues. We should choose the largest delta. I mean that the smaller one that you will choose, it will be the largest delta that you may have. Any positive number less than that, it will be possible also. This is why we call it the largest delta. And of course, the image of the delta interval around 6, it's contained in the absolute value. Of course, this is clear. Now, let's have another solution, by the way. This is the same question, but another way. طبعا this is just the first part. After that, you need to verify. So the another way is you will do what? You will start with the definition. Do you remember? You will start guessing the value, a value for delta. So this is f of x minus L less than epsilon. Epsilon is given for us. This is epsilon. This is L. This is the function. Now what you will do, you will try to simplify using the definition of the absolute value. Then this means that what is inside the absolute value will be less than 1 or greater than -1. Then you will add -2 for both sides. This is 3, this is 1. Square both sides, you have x between 3 and 11. And this is what we had, by the way. We had x between 3 and 11 from the graph. It was clear. Now our task is what? Our task is to go to where? To here. To something like this. So how to do that? You can do it in 2 ways. The first way is to build this. So what you will do x minus 6. So you will subtract 6 from both sides, because I have here x minus 6. So now I will have x minus 6 less than 11 minus 6, 5 or -3. Now I need absolute value. What should we write here, Shabab? Absolute value of -6. Should we write it less than 5 or less than 3? This is the step that you have to be careful about. By the way, this means what does this mean يا شباب؟ هذه العبارة اللي مكتوبة هنا. It means what in the language of the absolute values? This means that the absolute value of x minus 6, it is less than 5, greater than 0, or it is between -6 or less than 3. But we should choose, of course, the one that will cover both of them. We will choose this one. Because if it is less than 3, it will be less than 5 also. But if it is less than 5, there is no guarantee to be less than 3. So this means, ya shabab, that you should write it in the language of the absolute values like that. Because by the way, when you have less than 5, it will be greater than -5. When you have it greater than -3, it will be less than 3 if it is less than 5, and so on. So this is the step that you have to be careful about. The absolute value of x minus 6 is less than 3. This 3, if you compare this with the definition, compare this with this, you can find that this 3 is delta. So without, of course, we choose the minimum here, the same. طبعا there is another way that you can do it to find delta, which is similar to what we did in the previous slide. Now you have x equals to 3 or 11, so this is 11. Now distance between A, what is A? A is 6. So what is the distance between 3? We started with x2. Between 11 and 6, it is 5. And between 6 and 3, the another one, it is 3. You will choose the smaller. So you can do it this way or that way. It is up to you. طبعا, as I said, ya shabab, this is kind of very guessing a value for delta by using that. طبعا, after that, you need to verify if you want to prove, but we are not proving here. We just are finding a value for delta. I advise you, shabab, to use this way, algebraically or graphically. If you have the graph, it's okay, but no need if you don't have it. Just use how to find x1 and x2, and after that, the distance between them and A will give you delta 1, delta 2. Choose the smaller one. We will have more examples about that. This is what we had. Let's have another example here. Is it the same or different? It is different one. X minus 4 here. Epsilon is given L, and this is A. The same way, the solution is here, shabab, with details. The solution is given here for you with details. This is the final answer, and the solution is here. What you need to do, you need to find what is F, what is A, what is L, what is epsilon. After that, you need to, no need to use the graph here. You need to find the largest delta. So just find delta. And instead of finding the graph, you will try to put the function square root of x minus 4. You will put it equals to L plus epsilon, because you know that we said this is L, this is L plus epsilon, this is L minus epsilon. So your function will be here. So put it equals to L plus epsilon. So it will be what? Equals to 4. L plus epsilon. Now square both sides, it will be 16, x will be 12. So this is your x, 20, sorry. X will be 20 because it will be plus. So this is the first value of x. Do the same with L minus epsilon. You have another value. Now your A, where is A? A, here it is. It should be between them. It is between them, between 8 and 20. So if you want your function to be between 4 and 2, your x must be between 8 and 20. Now, what do you think? What is delta? Delta, it is the distance now. This is A, which is what? 13. This is A, and this is 20, this is 8. Now, the distance from here to here, what is it? 7. The distance from here to here, 5. So what is delta? Delta is 5. Delta is 5, clearly, the smaller one.
Is always the distance from the left shorter than the distance from the right?
No. It is just by chance here.
Okay.
It is by chance. This is, of course, if you want to use the graph, I don't think so. That you can use it, of course. Now, this is, ya shabab, when you have it from the right, what will be the difference? You will focus on the right only. So you will do the same, look, the same issue, but here there is no L minus, there is no A plus delta. It is from the right, there is no A minus delta. So you will just go to A, this is x1, you will focus on the right only here. You will forget about this. So here it is what? If you are talking about the only right, it is 7. So delta is 7. You are talking about the right limit. If we talk about the left limit, what it will be? It will be 5. The same question. I had the same question with the limit from the left. Now, this is the summary of this section, shabab. We are done. الزبدة إنه you have two types of problems هنا في هذا السكشن شباب. يا إما يجيك proof زي like example 1, example 2 and example 3. Example 1, 2 and 3. Or you have given epsilon, find delta like example 1 and the other exercises. So if you have a proof, it is easy. Just you need to identify, guess a value for delta and proof at the end. If you have a given epsilon, find delta, it depends. Do you have a graph or you have equation? If you have a graph and everything is clear on the graph, you can solve it. If you have the equation, you should follow, of course, these steps. You need to identify your L, your F, your epsilon, and after that, you need to solve this equation. Both the value of the function y equals L plus epsilon and L minus epsilon. Then solve it for x. Find what is x1 and x2. You can use the graph if it is given. Your A must be between them. Make sure about that. And your delta 1 and delta 2, they will be the distance between x2, x1, and A. Choose delta to be the minimum one, and remember that delta, this value is the greater one. So delta, it could be less than that value. And these ya shabab exercises that you should solve. I advise you to solve these exercises. They are from your textbook. For the odd numbers, you have the final answer. You can also find it in the ebook, in the web assign. Also, I advise you to solve the ones that they are without final answer, to just make sure that you understand and you are sure about your solutions. You shouldn't have everything solved, ya shabab. You should have many problems exercise. This is the difference between example and exercise. They should be different. If we have time, do we have time for that? Yes, we still have. So please try to solve this, ya shabab. You have F. You need to find the largest value of delta such that x, the distance between x and 2, it is less than delta, then the distance between x and negative 6. So here L is negative 6, and this is epsilon. This is epsilon. So let me help you with identifying the problem. We discard this. So you have the function, here it is. You have L is negative 6, A is 2, epsilon is 0.12. This is the most important step, shabab, at the beginning. If you made a mistake here, everything will be wrong. So now you can do exactly what we did with in example 3 or in example 1 and the other exercises. Continue, Shabab, try to find the answer. During that, let me take a photo for the attendance just in case sometimes there is problems in the reports. Thank you, Abdullah Saud. He put his picture there, and also Faisal Al-Rifa'i, Ghalib, no. Please, ya Shabab, put your personal photo on your profile. What is the problem? What is the problem if you have your photo on your Zoom profile? Why many of you, Shabab, they don't want to show their identity? Please, ya Shabab, I ask you to use your personal photo in your personal file.
Doctor,
Yes.
from where can we change it?
From the profile, ya Shabab. You are good in these issues. You are better than us in these issues. Just try it. From your profile, go to your profile. Let me show you if you don't know how to do that. Or you can share, ya Shabab. Share الشباب اللي غيروا الصورة تبعهم في البروفايل. Please share that with your colleagues in the WhatsApp group. It is not difficult, ya Shabab. It is a matter of go to your profile, click on your picture, go to the setting, and after that to the profile. The last one is with Ahmed. Ya Shabab, we will have, inshallah, our next class, we will have a practice quiz. We will practice quiz before taking real quiz. I will talk about that later, Malik. Okay. Anyone has an answer, Shabab?
B.
Yes, B.
The answer is B, yes. The answer is B, Shabab. Yes, you're right. So it is not difficult. I think just what you need to do is to follow. You need to put your function, for example, here. You need to, you can do it in several ways, by the way. Let me do it for you. You can use this, f of x equals to L plus epsilon. And then f of x equals to L minus epsilon, and solve them. This is one way. So you will have 2 minus 4x equals to L plus epsilon. L plus epsilon will be negative 6 plus 0.12, and this will be the same. But of course, if you do it, as I said for you, 2, 4 minus x minus L minus will be plus 6, absolute value less than epsilon. Epsilon is 0.12. Then you will have it greater than negative epsilon. Then simplify until you have this, until you have x minus 4. So what you will have 8 minus 4x less than 0.12 greater than negative 0.2. And you need to continue, take 4 as a common factor, and divide by 4. It will be 2 minus x less than, if you divide by 4, it will be 0.03 greater than negative 0.03. And clearly this means that the absolute value of 2 minus x is less than 0.03. And you know that the absolute value of x minus 2 is the same as the absolute value of 2 minus x. So this is done. This is one way to do that. This is another way. I will stop here, Shabab. You have many old exam questions here with solutions. Many of them, they are with detailed solutions. So go just and practice. And please don't look at the solution. Try to practice without looking at the solution. You need just to identify what do you want. Do you want to prove, or you want to find the delta if you have epsilon? Let me share with you, Shabab, how to submit your quiz. This is important. I'll stop recording.